Hello and welcome back. I'm Konner Hines for BSTN, and today we're focusing on a great Boardman tradition, the annual Memorial Day Parade and ceremony in Boardman Park that is sponsored by the Kiwanis Club. Joining me today is Kiwanis Club member, the organizer of the event, Mr. Mark Luke. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Luke.
Good morning.
Good morning. There's a lot of planning going into Boardman's Memorial Day events. As an organizer for many years, what has you excited about this year's plans?
Well, everything. We do have some special things occurring this year. You know, Memorial Day is a very special day in our country. It's our only national day of mourning, and it's actually the day that we set aside to remember those who gave their lives in military service. We could live as a free country and engage in the way of life that we choose to. Boardman has a wonderful tradition, 119 years, consecutive years, of having Memorial Day service. The parade is not that old, but it's an exciting part of it. So this year, the parade will have lots of our normal units in it and our speakers and everything like that. We're excited to have United States Congressman Bill Johnson as our Memorial Day speaker. He is a 26-year United States Air Force veteran. Something a little different this year for the service in Boardman Park is we typically try to get a flyover, and it's usually a local, maybe a C-130 out of Vienna Air Base or something like that. This year we have a Boardman High School graduate and Boardman native who's active military as well as flying for the Border Patrol. He'll be flying a UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter down here from Michigan for the day. We'll do our flyover, land in Boardman Park, and then as I MC the service, I'll put both pilots into the service as well. So we're excited about those things, and we hope that those types of things, like the congressman and the helicopter, attract people to come to the service. The parade is great, and it's wonderful. It's Americana, it's exciting. We get a lot of community actively involved in that parade. But the service is what's really important, because we're remembering those people that surrendered their lives on the altar of freedom that we may live free. So we're looking to attract people to the parade and to the service in Boardman Park.
Yes, and will you personally be remembering or celebrating anybody this Memorial Day?
Well, what we do is at the service we do have two memorial wreaths that we lay. One is for people who have died, and one who are people sponsored by the National Honor Society here at the high school, remembering people who are currently serving in the military. So not anyone individually will be pointing them out, but really collectively for people who have died in military service.
That's great. And you were talking about community beforehand, and Boardman is one of the few communities in the Valley to hold a Memorial Day Parade. Can you describe what makes that very special?
Yeah, like I said, it's the 119th, and actually the first one started in 1904 at Boardman Cemetery, which is on Tanglewood Drive just off of 224. And the origination of that cemetery is Elijah Boardman donated 1 acre of land to Boardman Township. He was the founder of Boardman Township, Elijah Boardman, and he realized that someday Boardman would need something like that, so he donated that land. And in 1904, local clergy met with some veterans, and there are veterans buried in that cemetery as well, and that was the start of it. So as you progress over time, they realized Boardman was growing, it was getting bigger. People wanted to have a little bit of a parade, so they started from a local school at Route 224 on Market Street, and that progressed as well. And they realized that the cemetery is not big enough, so they moved it to Boardman Park, originally held at the Memorial Flagpole. So now what we have is we gather at Center Intermediate School, and we proceed Market Street to 224 to Boardman Park, and then we have our service. So the history of it is very important, and I think it's not only important to remember this day, but to remember, like you asked, that history of things, because it's important to know where you came from to know where you're going in life.
Yes, and as a marching band member, I know the route all too well. But for anyone who's never experienced it, describe the route and maybe your thoughts on some of the best spots to set your chairs on the way.
Sure. You know, the great thing is, well, we start off at Center Middle School. We go northbound on Route 7 Market Street. Then we take a right-hand turn and go Route 224 to Boardman Park. Those are both 5-lane roads, which is very nice to view a parade from. And the nice thing is, too, there's a lot of commercial buildings along the route, including Southern Park Mall. So people can freely park, you know, before we block the roads. But they can freely park in those areas, and some people like do a modified tailgate where they'll sit on the back of their car or their truck or their SUV and watch the parade go by and just enjoy it. Good weather is what we really need, so if you have any influence there, we'd love to have that. But you know, we have, the nice thing is, like you said, we have the marching band, we have schools involved, we have local people who drive classic cars, we have veterans groups in the parade. And the nice thing is, you know, we have the Boy Scouts who lead off with the flag line, and then the marching band sets the pace. So whatever the pace you have, keep it up, because it keeps our parade going. Then when we get to the park, we also have the schools very well involved too, because the wind ensemble will play. This year, another special thing we have to add is the high school chorus will be joining us, and the lead song to open will be Battle Hymn of the Republic, which is a very special song, and we're excited to have the choir and the wind ensemble joining us and leading us in that.
Yes, we are very excited to perform. We cannot wait. And so when everyone ends up at the park, you were speaking of the ceremony that's going to come next where the choir and band will be performing. And who will the speaker be this year?
Yeah, the speaker will be United States Congressman Bill Johnson. And we're excited about that. We don't search for politicians to speak on this day. We typically search for veterans or clergy, which is kind of the tradition of it. And I did talk personally to the congressman, and I kind of jokingly said, don't talk politics because I've got the cord to the microphone. So we had a little fun with that, but it's not a day for politics or politicians. It's really a day to remember those who gave their lives for our country. And like I said, he's a 26-year United States retired Air Force veteran, so we're looking forward to his special message as well.
Yes, and the Kiwanis Club has dedicated itself to continue the great tradition of Boardman. And can you tell us why it's so important to make this family tradition happen each year?
Well, I think that's about the future, and it's a very good question. Like we said, you need to know where you come from to know where you're going. So having youth involved, having families involved to come out and hear these messages from veterans and understand that freedom isn't free and there's sacrifice that takes place for us. And this country is built on the rights and privileges of the individual, and we need to recognize that and understand that we do not live in an ism country. We're based on the rights and freedoms of the individual, and people died for us that we may gather on Memorial Day to celebrate.
Yes, my grandpa is in armed force, and he looks forward to this parade every year. Not just because I'm leading it, like as the drum major or anything, but because of the impact it has. And we want to thank you personally.
Sure. Well, thank you. And if I could say, we invite everyone in the community, or even listening, to come out and join us that day, please, especially veterans, because we do set aside a portion in our service where we pay the veterans songs of the different services. We ask the veterans to come to the flagpole, and we recognize them for attending. And another thing is we will get, in good weather, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of people along the parade route, but only a few hundred at the service. And the service is really a special part of this. So if we could encourage all those people to come down and really put a good amount of people watching that service in Boardman Park, we would like to encourage that as well.
Yes, well, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Luke. And remember, the Memorial Day Parade steps off at 10 a.m. on Monday, May 29th. If you don't remember, the Boardman Park Marching Band will surely wake you up. And the park ceremony begins around 11. As Mr. Luke was saying, it's going to be a very special event and you won't want to miss it. I'm Konner Hines for BSTN, and I'll see you at the park, Boardman.